What's up YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. I am the Scarlet Kuriboh, and today we are going over the Yubel deck profile. I'm going to be updating my deck profile. A lot's changed since I've been doing the deck profiles a couple months ago, and let's get started with the deck. First, we are going to show off one copy of Yubel the Terror Incarnate, one copy of Yubel, as well as 3 copies of Spirit Yubel, and then 3 copies of Samsara D Lotus. So, what's different than last time? I trimmed out from level 12 and another copy of Yubel. Once we get the Legacy of Destruction support, which is going to give us the Grave Squirmer, and it's going to give us the Field Spell, both of which cards are going to honestly change the deck. It's going to really revolutionize it. Once they come out, we're going to be very, very excited to add them, and we'll go ahead and add more Yubels. But until then, we're trimming down to save room for some hand traps. So, that's going to be our Yubel portion. Moving forward, we have one copy of Obama the Unchained Soul, one copy of Clifford the Red Dog, and one copy of Blue's Clues. As well, we have 2 copies of Aruha and 2 copies of the Dark Beckoning Beast. So, the Sacred Beast support is going to give us a hand loop, and the Unchained support is going to give us a lot more power and a lot more consistency moving forward with the deck. So we want to make sure that we use a lot of Unchained strategy. I'm trimming down a lot of what I used to have, and it's making the deck a lot more consistent. Going into some hand traps, I like to use 3 copies of Effect Veiler, as well as 3 copies of Ash Blossom and the Joyous Springs. You can also use Droll in place of these. As well, I'm also using 3 copies of Infinite Impermanence. Not a trap card, but it stays with the hand traps. These cards are all really important. You want to use at least 9 in your deck in today's meta, and this is going to help us keep up with the pace of a deck like Fire Kings, for example. Moving forward, for some consistency, I use 1 copy of 1 for 1, 3 copies of Piri Reis Map. Piri Reis Map is a very limited searcher, and it's going to be able to search us out specifically the Samsara D Lotus card. Eventually, we'll have a much more powerful searcher in the Nightmare Throne, but as soon as we get this, we're going to be elated. Until then, Piri Reis Map is our go-to. I also like to use 3 copies of Nightmare Pain to start our Yubel combos. I'll talk a little bit about the strategies, including what Nightmare Pain does, in a little bit after we finish the deck profile, so stay tuned. I'm going to use 2 copies of Opening the Spirit Gates. Now, this is the Sacred Beast hand loop that I was mentioning earlier. Very powerful and very important part of the deck. I also like to use 1 copy of Called by the Grave. So, that's going to be it for the main deck spells. Let's go into the trap cards. You already seen the 3 imperms, but I also like to use 1 copy of Obama's Unchained, 1 copy of Escape the Unchained, 1 copy of Eternal Favorite. Now, Eternal Favorite is very important in the deck because it lets us use the effect of Super Polymerization, which we're also using at 3. This is the most important card of the deck, and it's going to segue into the main strategy, the extra deck monster, Yubel the Loving Defender Forever. Eternal Favorite and Super Poly are both going to be able to fuse off 1 Yubel on our field and every effect monster on the field, 1 or more, including your opponents, to summon out Yubel the Loving Defender Forever. As well, we like to use a couple of Super Poly targets. We got Mud Dragon, we got Starving Venom, and we got Garua. All 3 of them are very important to use. And that's going to be the primary fusions we use. Yubel the Loving Defender Forever is going to be the main strategy of the deck, because with the searchable Eternal Favorite and the unstoppable Super Polymerization, we have plenty of ways that we're going to be able to interrupt our opponent. Moving forward, for a dodging case, we're going to use 1 Salamangreat Almirage. We're also going to use 2 copies of Unchained Soul Lord Shyama. This card is really powerful. It's not only Searcher, but it's going to be able to help us cheat out Yubel in our mainline combo. We also have 1 copy of Blue's Clues, the Soul of Rage. We have Clifford the Red Dog, Soul of Anguish, and 1 Unchained Abomination. These 3 cards are going to be very powerful. With the Unchained engine, we're going to have a lot more power and a lot more speed with the deck than we otherwise would have. I tried running with a lot less, and it didn't really work out. I also like to use 1 copy of Underworld Goddess. This is going to help us use our opponent's monsters as well as material for us, kind of a theme of the deck, and 1 copy of SP Little Knights. Now, ordinarily, you're able to use Soul of Rage to steal one of your opponent's monsters to link summon into another Unchained monster, but SP Little Knight is a much more powerful choice because you'll be using it with a link monster. It gets your banish effect during your opponent's turn. It's very powerful. We also like to use 1 copy of Super Dreadnought Rail Cannon Gustav Max. This is going to burn your opponent for 2,000 once you have a couple of Yubels on the field. Very good way to clean up games. And to interrupt your opponent, we got DD High Wave King Caesar. Very powerful card. It's a monster summon negate. It's going to interrupt your opponent really, really effectively. And all you need to do is use 2 of the dogs. You got Clifford and Blue's Clues, and they're going to overlay into a very powerful piece of interruption for your opponent. So the Unchained has a lot more strategies than just using one DD King. Like I was mentioning before, we also have the line where we use the Unchained Soul of Rage, and we can use one of our opponent's monsters and link that into the SP Little Knight. So that's another really powerful combo that the Unchained allows us to use. The Unchained trap cards, which are searchable with the Sharvara, we are going to be able to destroy them with both Sharvara and these Aruhas to start extra combos and get a lot more material on board. So we're always going to be left with something strong to end our turn with. Not only with the Unchained, but with the Yubel cards. Anytime one of the Yubel cards is destroyed, it'll rank up and special summon into the next Yubel. And when this one's destroyed, it'll special summon into the next Yubel. So a really powerful strategy you can use is when you have a Yubel on your field, you can use either Aruha or Sharvara to destroy it. That'll special summon out the next level of Yubel. And then same thing, you can use another one of them later on in the turn, and you can special summon into another Yubel. That not only special summons them, but it gives you a bonus monster to work with some material. Very, very good strategy, and that's kind of how they mix together really well. Let's talk about the mainline combo. First things first, you're going to be wanting a searcher. Piri Reis Map is a very powerful searcher. Later on, we'll be able to use Nightmare Throne in its place, but the main card that we're going to be searching with this is Samsara D Lotus. Now, on summon, you tribute this card, and you special summon out a Yubel monster, like Spirit of Yubel. So, Spirit of Yubel, very good card because it lets you search out a spell or trap card that mentions Yubel. We can go for Nightmare Pain. We can also go for Eternal Favorite, which is the Super Poly card. Very good effect. And then once we have those 2 on board, we'll be able to fusion summon into the Yubel Loving Defender Forever for next turn. But even more important than the Eternal Favorite line, the Nightmare Pain is a very powerful card because it makes your opponent attack into Yubel. Oftentimes you'll be able to win by battle damage just with having Nightmare Pain face up on the field. So that's another really powerful combo. And anytime one of your Yubels gets destroyed, it's going to, of course, special summon into the next Yubel and the Yubel after. Eternal Favorite is able to special summon out your Yubel monsters from the grave. So it's all really good tandem working together, and it's also a very powerful strategy. It's very hard to out, especially when you have multiple on the field. Of course, Super Polymerization is going to be a mainstay of the deck, but there are a bunch of other very powerful spells that keep us in the loop. Naturally, Nightmare Pain is going to be the core card of the deck. If this gets destroyed, we're going to be in trouble, so we always want to have a backup of this. A great way to bring it back is the opening the Spirit Gates. So, everybody debates why we have the Spirit Gate cards in this, and it's very important. These Sacred Beast engines are going to be very powerful. First things first, you can normal summon your Dark Beckoning Beast, and that'll get you out your spell card. The spell card will search you out another Dark Beckoning Beast, and as soon as you have that, you can summon this out, Link 2. That is a free Link 2. That is just like Tour Guide of the Underworld, except it is in Archetype because opening the Spirit Gates not only lets you special summon out Yubels from your graveyard, it also lets you recycle your continuous spells. So when Nightmare Pain is destroyed, you can use opening the Spirit Gates to put it right back into your hand. It also gives you a card to use for the discard at all times because Super Poly needs a discard. Eternal Favorite is also going to need a discard. So it's kind of crazy how much hand advantage we're going to require just to be able to pull off our mainline combos. That's going to be the main part of the deck. For some side deck options, you can always run different hand traps. You got things like Droll and Lockbird, you got things like Nibiru. You can run the Grinder Golem. This one, it's kind of a good card, it's kind of not, it kind of comes up sometimes. We got some back row hate, always important. We got some board breakers, we got some floodgates. That's all you're gonna really need for the side. Anything else is a little bit too much, and as soon as we get the new cards, Nightmare Throne for consistency, and Grave Squirmer as the extender of all time, we're going to be squared away for a very powerful Tier 0 deck. Yes, you heard me. I think this deck is going all the way to the top. Riding Super Poly, going with these hacks for Yubel, going into these very strong monsters that can destroy the entire field all at once, with the added benefits of meta cards like the Unchained engine with very powerful searchers, and SP Little Knight and Soul of Rage. Oh my god, this deck is so much fun to play. I couldn't recommend it enough. Go ahead, build it, try it out, let me know what you think, and if you have any questions, feel free to leave them down in the comments. So, don't forget to drink some water, try out the deck, like, comment, subscribe if you'd like, and thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you in the next one.